Hey guys, I'm Aaron Anthony and welcome to my channel. Before we get this requiem started, you should know that I don't consider myself a YouTuber. In fact, this is my first video and I've decided that I'm going to take the docu-series approach with this because if I tried to squeeze the 3 to possibly 5 topics that I want to cover into one video, it would end up being like 30 minutes and I know most people ain't got no time for that, especially from some no-name YouTuber that hasn't even proven his worth yet. And you'll have to excuse my nasally voice and occasional sniffle. I'm still getting over a cold I had earlier this week, so just bear with me. Now, what's been on my mind lately, and literally what propelled me to make this video, are black stereotypes. And I know, this is a topic that is old as F, and most of them have been debunked. However, there was a recent viral phenomenon going around on Twitter and on Facebook that involves black people and white people asking each other anything that the other wanted to know, right? And while this was technically done with the intention of lighthearted fun, you had some instances where the racism jumped out, and on some others, you just simply saw white people upholding the stereotypes about black people that not only aren't true, but were created for us by them. So go grab your tea, your wine, coffee, Jack Daniels, martinis, whatever you need to chill with me for a little bit, because we're going to break down these stereotypes, where they came from, and who gave them to us. Spoiler alert, it was white people. So let's move on to watermelon. This is another ridiculous stereotype catered to the notion that black Americans have a particularly insatiable appetite for watermelon. While it is true that watermelon represents something great for African Americans, the idea that it has any effect on our appetite is a racist fallacy created by bitter white people as a means of mocking black people. After black slaves were given their emancipation during the Civil War, black people who were now free grew and sold watermelon as a means of supporting themselves, this making the watermelon a symbol of our freedom. The Southern Caucasians who felt threatened by these now free black people, aka Negroes, responded to this by making watermelon a symbol of black folks' supposed uncleanliness and laziness, basically stating that all black people wanted to do was sit around all day eating watermelon, and because they wanted to perpetuate the idea that we didn't bathe, watermelon helped contribute to this stereotype, because not only are we sitting around being lazy, eating watermelon all day, but we're just getting sticky and icky from it, and therefore dirtier because we refuse to bathe ourselves. White supremacist Frank Leslie newspaper was the first to publish this garbage racial caricature and racist stereotype in 1869, and the white people who continued to defend slavery like to use watermelon to assert the idea that black people were simple-minded folk who were happy just being given watermelon and needed very little rest, thus being able to work a long-ass, work day during slavery and needed very little rest before we could start over, and literally all we needed was a piece of watermelon and however many hours of sleep before we could go back out there into the field. So, on a personal damn note, I personally love watermelon, okay? But this country does have a way of making you feel insecure about eating certain things, especially around white people, and I definitely had to decolonize my mind to get out of that space. White people and everyone else can enjoy watermelon freely and love the hell out of it without being perceived as some racial stereotype, and I got sick of it. During the 1 year that I lived in racist Arizona, I remember we were having a company lunch and they were serving stuff buffet style. I deliberately skipped the watermelon on the table because I was literally the only black person in the 70-person company, and these white people were mostly racist as F. But even though I skipped it, not one slice of watermelon on my plate, this racist white coworker later waved his piece of watermelon at me and said, "You didn't get any, but you know you want some." And he did this in front of like 15 people, and they all laughed, and it was so embarrassing. Like, I hate to say this because I'm a grown-ass man, but that literally made me feel some kind of way. I felt really small, like, in that moment, and it triggered me. So I went to HR like 5 minutes later, and by that Friday, that racist got his walking papers, and that was a lesson to everybody. So he wasn't fired for the one incident, but it was the last, and I was the only person in the company who did my job. So if I had left, it would have been a long time before they could get someone else in there to do what I did, because what I did was a trade, and this dude was way too replaceable to lose me over. That's why having a trade is important, y'all. Anyhow, Obviously, I got over my mental hang-up about watermelon and now very openly love watermelon. Watermelon itself, watermelon juice, watermelon lemonade, those watermelon Arizona teas that have like 500 grams of sugar per sip. And I wish a Caucasian would say something, okay? Anyway, basically, the point is that watermelon for black people isn't just a delicious fruit like it is to everyone else. It's a symbol of freedom. But to racist Americans, it's been made a stereotype directly linked to everything racists hate about black Americans. One of the most recent and disgusting, degenerate examples of this is the imagery directed toward Barack Obama during his presidential campaign. If we ever needed to be reminded of how pervasively racism in America still exists, the election of Barack Obama still serves as a stark reminder of that.